And Alex, Kelly, I will go ahead to mute yourself right now so we don't have echo during the session. And then when it's your turn, feel free to unmute yourself. Welcome, everyone. Before we get started, I think we'll just wait one more minute to let people get in. And while we're waiting, I encourage you to say hi and introduce yourself in the chats so our guests from SAP could get to know you a little bit. And we also have a few cohort 22 incoming students join us and also a number of Comm undergraduate students join us today. So welcome, everyone. Okay, let's start. So welcome to Complete Create Information Session with SAP. I'm Liao Zhao, the head of outreach. You know me. And SAP is the market leader in enterprise application software. We do have a good number of Complete alumni who started their career at SAP after graduation. So one of our panelists today, Catherine Kaming, and she is a CommLead alum from cohort 17, and now she works at SAP as a content lead for the HXM Global Demand Center. So Catherine, I will let you take it over to introduce yourself and the rest of our panel.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm just going to go to the next slide here and welcome everyone. But I just want to encourage you to really have an idea that our organization is a wonderful place, and I hope that you leave this presentation wanting to work here and wanting to learn more about work at our organization. So, Michelle, go for it.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Hi, my name is Michelle Craig, and I'm with SAP Concur. Wanted to share a few fun facts about SAP All Up to give you a bit of context around the opportunities that present itself within the company. So SAP has 101,000 employees globally, 440,000 customers growing, so helping customers solve unique business problems all over the world, which is a fascinating opportunity for marketers. We are obviously in the cloud space, so we have 200 million cloud users, and SAP is actually headquartered in Waldorf, Germany. Now we can go to the next slide. So some other interesting facts here that I think this group is particularly interested in. 73% of our employees are shareholders in the company. So you get in what you put, or you get out what you put in. It's a very inclusive environment. And in fact, 34% of SAP's employees are women, and that number continues to grow. And we also have 200 differently abled employees in 16 countries, and that also continues to grow. So thinking about diversity and inclusion, SAP is very, very fortunate to be putting that value front and center. I'll pass it to Kelly.
Yeah, hey, so there are a number of different employee network groups at SAP, and these are different interest groups that are employee-led, but they are also sponsored by different board members. So that means they really have executive level visibility and sponsorship encouragement. I personally happen to be involved in, I think, four of these. The Business Women's Network, the SAP Interfaith Alliance, 3 of them, and then the Pride at SAP employee network groups. And I think they're great ways to connect with other people, but also to really, live the values that different people have at SAP every day.
So with that, we're just going to let each of us just have a chance to introduce ourselves. And Kelly, you get to be first.
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Kelly Rigotti. So I lead digital marketing for SAP Concur. I've got 15 years of experience working in digital marketing, primarily, almost exclusively in B2B tech companies. I've been in the Seattle area for about 10 years. I have a bachelor's in French from Seattle U, and I have a master's in marketing from the Grenoble Graduate School of Business.
And I am Michelle Craig. I am the VP of Thought Leadership and Integrated Marketing at SAP Concur. I have 15 years in marketing communications experience. I joined Concur about 6 years ago, running corporate communications, and most recently have taken over thought leadership for Concur, which is an exciting opportunity. And I am also a UW alum, so go Huskies.
Get myself off mute. Hi, everybody. I am Alex Vaught. I'm a director of PR for SAP with responsibility for Concur public relations and media relations, but also some broader responsibilities across the SAP business as well. And I've worked in PR for about 15 years, 5 of which at Concur and SAP. And prior to that was at a couple different PR agencies in the Seattle area, working on B2B accounts, Microsoft and a few others too, and received a undergrad degree from University of Montana.
Great. Well, so I'm Catherine Kamen, and I think this is week 3 in my new role. I'm part of SAP. I just collaborated with these amazing people at SAP Concur, and I'm the content lead for the Global Integrated Demand Center on the Human Experience Management team. And we are still one organization, but they're a huge organization. So, but you know, the master's program wasn't particularly helpful for me to pivot. You know, you can see I have 12 years of B2C integrated marketing experience, but so that was why I chose to get my master's degree and was able to leverage that into breaking into B2B marketing, and was not able to make it into B2B marketing from many years of B2C without a master's degree. And the Comm degree was really helpful in doing that. I had a bachelor's degree in Spanish, and I was a public school teacher. I taught at Franklin High School in Seattle for a while. Yes, I graduated technically in 2020 and was able to graduate on Sunday with my colleagues. So that was wonderful. So I just wanted to flip here into one of the things that all of us manage different areas of telling the right story at the right time, the right audience, the right place, and things like that. And everybody does it a little bit differently, but unifying around which stage of the life cycle is really important. I added the kind of the direction that I use at SAP in the integrated demand center of reach, acquisition, consideration, decision, deploy, and use in terms of deciding what types of content, what audiences to target, what channels to approach, how to monitor and adjust, and things like that. And one of the things that we really focused on, I think everybody's focusing on, is approaching with empathy and trying to help people solve problems and business outcomes rather than just trying to sell people stuff. And so it's something that I think that is really something that we are all shifting to as marketers and thought leaders and communicators and whatever we're doing. So I don't know, my other colleagues wanted to maybe talk about the Concur version of the life cycle, but there's a lot of uniformity across all of the different versions of it as well.
Yeah, I'll jump in quickly. This is Kelly. So, you know, as we think about the Concur version of the life cycle, you know, you can see that there's a little bit of a difference between the terms that we employ with between SAP and SAP Concur, but you know, it's basically the same stages. And as we think about it, you know, from a digital perspective, an engagement perspective, how do we tell the story to the right audiences at the right time? Like Catherine said, you know, there's a number of different channels that come into play. So there's a number here that are, you know, digital focused, that are PR or comms focused. But of course, there's, you know, the other parts of the business as well. So from my team's perspective, we're looking at, you know, touch points at all of the different stages for the customer journey. And of course, a prospect or a customer can be at multiple stages just within their life cycle at the same time. They might be in the awareness stage for one set of products, but in the renewal stage for a different set of products. So for us, it's really important that we have a cohesive message, that we have a consistent story. And this is where things like thought leadership, the digital channels, awareness, and all of that really come into play.
And just to riff off of what Kelly was talking about, so thought leadership is primarily geared at the awareness stage, and that consists of messaging and a variety of content activations through multiple channels. So working with the likes of Alex, Kelly, and Catherine in her former role of amplifying that unified message across as many channels as possible to drive both that brand awareness and that demand from a customer standpoint. So it's really a coordinated approach across all of these efforts.
Okay. So we just wanted to, let me see, slide transition here. Okay, so I want to say I'm the most recent to go through this application process at the organization. Happy to help, individually help you talk. We're going to talk a little bit later about how your application is going to stand out. But, I mean, these are the people that you would likely be interviewing with. I'm not a hiring manager, but Michelle and Kelly and Alex certainly are. So I wanted to let them have the opportunity to talk about, what they're looking for in this process as well.
Sure. So I'll start, and then maybe Michelle and Alex jump in as well. So basically, when we look for applications, or when we have open roles and we receive applications, we look for applications that really say something about how you think you will be different and really make a difference in the role itself. And that's where that screening process comes in. I personally work really closely with our recruiters, when we have an application, an open role, and we're going through the application process. The recruiter looks out for kind of the best candidates, but I also spend a lot of time looking at applications as well. And then we typically go through a couple of different levels of interviews. Generally I'll do phone screens with lots of different people. I try to look for people who have diverse sets of experiences and diverse ways of telling their stories. And so I might do, 10 or 20 phone screens for every 1 or 2 interviews that I invite people to come to. Then there's an interview loop that people will go through, and depending on the role, we may ask you for different things. We may ask you to meet with different types of people, different numbers of people. Sometimes we'll ask people to show their portfolios or examples of past work, things like that. And then if you get hired, then there's a process that usually takes between 2 and 4 weeks to kind of have people go through the whole hiring process and fill out all of their paperwork and get background checked and receive their computers and other equipment. But we're definitely in touch with people kind of all the way through the process.
Definitely. Michelle and Alex, you're welcome to add anything if you would like as hiring managers as well.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. So yeah, I would, go ahead, Michelle.
No, go ahead.
I would echo a lot of what Kelly said there. I think that's a great overview of what the process generally looks like, and it'll be a little bit unique depending on each role and each team that has an open position. But speaking from the SAP Global Public Relations team, similar to what Kelly said, we're definitely looking for people whose experience not only fits the criteria for the role in terms of number of years you've been working with media, B2B tech experience, things like that, but also definitely are looking for diverse set of candidates and experiences that can come to the table, think across the SAP business line, and kind of help push our thinking in different ways as well.
And just the 2 points I'd add to what Kelly and Alex have shared is that through the interview process, it's really important to think about the what you do and what you can contribute, and the how you do it as well. And then once you are hired, I will say that SAP and Concur are very well versed in onboarding new employees to making sure that you get the right connections and mentorship in the early days, as well as information to learn the business as quickly as possible. So you're a bit like a sponge, but it's a great process.
Great.
It really is. And as I just go, before we go to the breakout rooms, like I just want to say, as a graduate, and you saw my experience, I had a lot of B2C experience, and I honestly couldn't get the bigger leading tech companies to take a chance on me. I interviewed with all of them. But SAP truly does value diverse sets of experiences and gives people a chance and the opportunity. And in my experience, more so than a lot of the other leading tech companies. And shout out to my hiring manager for being willing to take a chance on me. And I really did succeed because of the healthy onboarding experience and the community of collaboration. So I guess that's why when I know of everybody here in the Comm Lead program and the skills that people are acquiring, I think that it's an excellent match for what Concur and what SAP is looking for in terms of talent, rather than just kind of a singular set of experiences from one tech company straight out of college. And so I just want to encourage people to take a look at this and ask those hard questions as we go into the breakout rooms and consider opportunities that you see.
Thank you, Catherine. I do see that we have a question in our chats. Maybe we can answer that before we step into the breakout room. So Kia is wondering, oh yeah, she said like, Kia said like, graduate in March 2023 and want to know the timeline of recruiting at SAP.
Yeah. And I would echo what Michelle wrote in the chat that you should start networking now. Networking is never a bad thing to do too much of. I'm a big fan of networking and building connections with people in a genuine way. I'll say that typically my experience takes about 3 months from the point where we open a role and we put it on the site to going through the entire interview process and to identifying the candidate. So it's about 3 months for that process. So I would encourage people, if you're graduating in March of 2023, I'd encourage you to start, really actively looking for the end of the year. We're also willing to hold roles sometimes for the right people, right? So if there's a role that you see that you think would be a great fit now, feel free to apply for it. I've had people in the past who started while they were still a full-time student, and we've figured out ways to make that work. So.
Awesome, thank you, Kelly. Another question come from Natasha. Natasha is asking like if B2B experience is a must because she predominantly have B2C experience. Yeah, like Catherine mentioned.
I'm just going to say no, it's not required. Sure is helpful though. I mean, absolutely is helpful. But I mean, I think that what the program equipped me with was the ability to use multi-channel approaches and tell a good story, and across bringing people. Well, we showed that life cycle slide. It's bringing people across the narrative arc and through the life cycle, or the funnel, so to speak, meeting people, and all the different innovation around that, and just being able to understand and learn new things and apply, your understanding. But yeah, if you have a B2B experience, like totally will help you to be more successful. But like I said, our organization has a really robust onboarding experience and a deep sense of collaboration, which is really helpful when you're new or at really any time.
And I would add from my perspective that the most important thing is understanding that there are differences between B2B and B2C. And so if you have a lot of really strong B2C experience, you can talk about, if you can talk about the ways that your experience in B2C might translate or connect with B2B work, that would be the most important thing, right? We want people who have knowledge of what the B2B world is like, because it is different, but that doesn't mean you need to have experience in it. It could be just that, you've taken classes and you have good understanding of how it's different.
Thank you. There are more questions coming up. So Fabri is asking about, could you elaborate more on the diverse background and experience? I think that's what Kelly mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah, you know, we obviously diversity, equity, and inclusion is a hot topic these days, and rightly so. It's super important. And I think it's just it's really important as hiring managers that we think beyond elements of, is this person a good cultural fit? Which sometimes can mean that you look for people that you get along with, right? Or you think that you'll be able to work with well, you have a good connection with. You want to make sure that when you're looking at, for candidates, that there are people who have a different, potentially a different set of experiences, right? Going back to the previous question about does everybody need to have B2B experience? Sometimes somebody with B2C experience can be a super great fit, like as I know from working with Catherine over the past couple of years. That's an example of a diverse hire in a way that we don't often mean, you know, from the diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective. But also, you know, it's important to look for people who, you know, come from different areas of the country or different areas of the world. We are a global organization. I happen to sit on a role, actually all of us happen to sit in roles where we are at the corporate level, right? So we really represent a centralized perspective, but we have people on our teams. I think I saw Tong Tong on here. We have people on our teams who are from other areas of the world and who can help us understand what that global perspective is. And then finally, I would say that age is important. You know, we all happen to have a certain amount of experience in the world. And I think that it's important to be able to look for people who have had different professional backgrounds as well. I mean, I've been in B2B tech for 15 years, but before that I worked in social services. So it's important to look at, you know, people who have kind of a diversity of experiences and maybe a certain amount of lived experience that's different as well. So basically, I'm always trying to look for people who are different from me, and so think about what they could potentially bring to the team that I do not offer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo all of what Kelly just said, and then adding just from like the global public relations team that I sit on too. I think part of the diversity we think of, in addition to everything that Kelly mentioned, is diversity of experience in terms of where you're coming from in your career. So, you know, our job in global PR is to, in a nutshell, talk with reporters, form relationships with them, and convince them to write nice things about us. So myself and many PR colleagues come up through like a PR agency background. There are some strong PR agencies in the Seattle area focused on tech and B2B. But there are colleagues of mine who are former reporters. They can bring a different perspective to the job too. And there are also colleagues who come from different walks of life. If they're more of a product engineering or like technical background, it can help our team collectively think of things in a different way that we might not piece together on our own.
Thank you, Alex, for more information. We got one more questions from international students, Matthew, and he's asking if SAP provides H-1B working visa.
I would say that it depends kind of on the person and the individual case. We do help people through the visa process. I've worked closely with a few different people who we have sponsored for different levels, and so it would really depend on the person. Generally speaking, that would be, it's really a case-by-case basis that you'd want to talk to individual people about.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. And I know that our student Tong Tong works for SAP, and she
works for me.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, nice. And she got her working visa through SAP. Is that correct, Ethan? Yeah, remembering right. Okay, so thank you everyone for all your input and information. So maybe before we get into the breakout room, just ask one more question that I think our students will be super interesting, like what positions are currently open in your team or will be open in your team? So students could get to know which room that she she or he or they will be interested in joining. Kelly, do you want to go first? Yeah.
Yeah, so on my team, we will be opening up a job rec very soon for a senior UX designer. So we're looking for somebody who's got strong digital design skills and who will be who has experience in thinking about design systems, process, things like that. So that's a role that's opening up soon on our team. I will say generally, this year's internship program is filled for my team, but we also do have internships that will be opening up again next spring. And our internships are not decided necessarily ahead of time, so we can kind of, there's flexibility there as well.
Thank you. Michelle, any job openings in your team?
No job openings on my team, but I would echo what Kelly had shared about internships, that depending on the right time and right work that needs to be done, again, this is where networking can help because things pop up all the time where we do need some additional support, and it could be a great learning opportunity for students to get involved. But I'd encourage folks just to continue to check the job board and get those email updates.
Thank you. Alex and Catherine, anything else to add?
I'd agree with what Michelle said. I think on our team next month, we may have a job opening for a West Coast media relations specialist. So we'd be looking for someone who's got, in this case, probably pre-existing strong relationships with reporters at top tier business and trade outlets based in along the West Coast, but largely in the San Francisco area.
And I will say that on our team, Human Experience, we have a program director role open right now. But people move around so much, and there are lots. I would just iterate what everyone else has said, is there are so many roles, and even if it's not on my direct team, happy to network and introduce and collaborate. And yeah, I'm always sending you jobs and things like that to feature. And please do not hesitate to reach out. And if anything, I can go look the person up and see, how that we're connected and try to make that meaningful connection for you.
Awesome, Catherine. Thank you. Thank you so much for always introducing new jobs to our weekly newsletter and to our students, on linking groups. So thank you everyone for sharing your work at SAP. So I think now we're ready to move to the breakout room part. So we have 4 breakout rooms for each guest, and our students, you are welcome to join any room that you're interested in to further engage our guests at SAP. And me and Valeska, our student assistant, will stay in the main room if you need any help with getting into a particular breakout room. Otherwise, enjoy your conversation. Thank you and have a great day.
Yeah, we'll open the rooms now. Okay, they are open. You should be able to choose your own rooms.
Thank you. Henry, do you need any help? Oh, there you go. I think, Valeska, we can go ahead to stop recording.
Okay, yeah.